All right. Hey there, everybody. So I am going to make this video to show how to do what is known as a curtain wall. A curtain wall is usually a wall that is effectively hung or fitted into a space. It's usually not load bearing. And Revit has some options for doing these. These are some examples of a kind of a sunroom that might have something like that. But a curtain wall can also be on a skyscraper. It's often the actual exterior walls of the building. They call it glazing sometimes. The glazing is the glass that's inside, and this is actually a good example of how the interior structure of the building is not what you usually see in these situations, and the curtain wall is hung literally on the underlying framework, the structural framework of steel beams and concrete. In the case of a sunroom or something where it's residential like this, it's more that we've just created these openings, and you'd probably have some strong beam across the framing here. And so you have the pieces of glazing, which are the actual glass, and then all of the lines, if you will, are what are known as mullions. And I'm going to show you how you can create and edit all of those using Revit. So let's flip over to Revit. This is our goal, is to create something that looks like this. And you'll have to excuse the fact that there's some grass visible on the inside there. The building pad wasn't doing what I needed it to, but that's okay. This is supposed to be, if we go, this is actually a new document now. This is the blank one. We don't have that curtain wall in there yet. We're going to add it, but this is what the sunroom looks like. We would ultimately replace this window here with a door of some kind that would open into the sunroom. That's the idea here. And we're going to put this curtain wall along this wall here. So again, our goal is this. What we're going to have to do is we're just going to replace the end wall. We're going to change its type to be a curtain wall. And then we will add the grid, we'll add the mullions, and we will then we'll add this sort of knee wall in here that's like just comes up maybe 3 feet or something. And that is to sort of mimic, like in this situation where there's a little bit of a wall down at the bottom, or this situation here where we've got like this knee wall that just comes up about knee high. And you can do it in any order that you want, but I'll kind of do the whole wall. I'll add the grid, and then I'll show you how you can edit it to have just a solid wall down there at the bottom. So I'm going to try not to get confused here. We'll pretty much work in the plan here, but also possibly in the east elevation, because this is the east side of the building. We may work over here in the east elevation, and we may work in the 3D view. So I'll flip between the three of those. So like I said, the first step, this wall is our goal wall to become our curtain wall. So we can just go over here in the wall types, and way down at the bottom is a section of 3 different types of curtain walls. I usually just go with curtain wall 1. It's pretty simple, and you're going to immediately see the wall changes. We see this little indicator. This now means this is a curtain wall. It still behaves like a wall, but it is set back and in. And if we look at our 3D view, it has no mullions yet. It simply has just one big sheet of glass on there, but we're going to work on changing that. We don't really see anything in the elevation view. So I'm going to actually I'm going to work in this view here. So it's hard to tell, but this is our wall. If I hover, I see walls, curtain wall, curtain wall 1. If I click that, I see this little configure grid layout button pop up. And let me actually see one other thing. Okay, good. Our wall went up to the ceiling, so does this one, because we just changed the wall type. So let me pick that wall again. All right, so if I click configure grid layout, it gives me this grid, and this would actually let me change, if I really wanted to, I could change the angle of this. So we could have this whole thing be slanty, but that's not actually what we want to do here. I'm just showing you guys that that's an option. You could have a crazy curtain grid like that. But I just hit undo there to go back to, that should have reset it to the normal. Oop, it didn't reset it that much. I hit undo again. Undo. Come on. Okay, there we go. Okay, so it's reset to normal. So that's how you can kind of edit the slope of things. But what we really want to do here now is we want to actually add, that's the grid layout, but the grid itself is not here yet. So we're going to add a curtain grid, but you need a curtain wall to do that. So, and if you hover over it, you see this is how we're going to add those mullions. This is how we're going to add those lines. So I pick the modify place curtain grid, and it's only going to let me add those to these walls. I can't put them on a regular wall. But now what I can do is I can place in my various horizontal grids that I might want on there. And I don't know why it's not letting me add another one. Huh. So you can, if you need to move these around, you can like add one, and then you could, should be able to drag these. Yeah, there we go. So I just hit escape a couple times. You can play around with those. You have to just use the typical Revit tools here. But you can keep toggling on the add remove segments, and that's going to allow you, whoops, I got to get back into a curtain grid, to put in these different mullions in different places where you want them. And I actually don't like this layout, so I'm going to tweak this so that that lines up right with the edge of that. This lines up right with the edge of that. Let's actually get this to be in the middle here. Hopefully we can we snap it maybe? Ooh, well, it's pretty close. So we've got that amount laid out here. So I was just dragging those lines around there. Let's go back and hit curtain grid again. So that was adding segments that go all the way across, but you can also pick different placement options here and add just like one segment in here. So maybe you didn't want that going all the way across. Maybe you just wanted just one in here. And let's actually, we're going to align these two. There we go. Is it not like that? Oh, it doesn't like that. So you can, the point here is that you can add, oh, there we go. If you click add remove segments, you can pick this, add remove, and then you can click on the segments you want to go away. So I'll click this again, add remove, and I'll click over here on the right and it adds a segment. So you can customize this any way that you want, but I'm going to leave it like that for now. So now that I have my grid on there, if I look at my 3D view, it's just sliced up the glass, but there's nothing in between those. Those are just sheets of glass that are butting up against each other. So our last step now is to add mullions. So the easiest way to do this is you can just pick all grid lines and then pick the whole grid, and it's going to put them all on there. It might complain a little bit. You don't have to worry about that if it does complain. But that's going to put just the mullions all over that. And what you can also do then is you can pick the mullion type, and you can actually change these. So that changed just that one section to a circular. But what you can do is before you even place those mullions on there, you can change this. Maybe we want them all to be circular. We're going to say all grid lines. We're going to pick that. It's complaining again, but now those are all circular mullions. So you can play with these, and you can even go in and individually pick the mullions. Maybe I just want these two. So I held control so I could pick two of them at once. Maybe I want those two to be square for some reason. I don't know why I would, but maybe it's decorative or something. You can go in and individually edit those. So that's kind of the basics of how you add a curtain grid. So to review that, you just pick a wall, change it to it. So we'd pick a wall, change it to a curtain wall, way down here at the bottom, curtain wall 1. You would add a grid on top of it from the architecture tab. You would add a curtain grid system. You'd place your lines on there wherever you want your mullions, horizontal and vertical. And then last, you actually go and you place mullions onto those grid lines. And you can click them individually too. You don't have to do all grid lines. Go for the edges, and that's how you can get that curtain wall on there. Pretty good. Ooh, that's ugly, but you get the idea. And then you can edit these piecewise. So as promised, the last step here, I'm just going to undo that, is to show how to add the knee wall. So if you're kind of done with this now and you don't need a knee wall, you can just stop. But so to add the knee wall to this, as I'm calling it, because it just comes up knee high, I'm going to get into my east elevation, and I'm going to hover near the edge of this until it lights up as the curtain wall. If you're having trouble getting that, you can hit tab one time on your keyboard, and every time I hit tab, so each time you see it change, I'm hitting tab, it is skipping to a new thing that is underneath my mouse and offering it as a selection. So I'm just going to get back and grab that though, because that one was easy to grab. If we edit the profile of this wall, we may get some errors. Okay, it'll remove the top base attachment. So I'm going to say, okay, so it's actually going to pull that down. So we see these pink lines now are the actual wall. We just did the attached top base to make it go up to the roof, but we can manually add that back in. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to change this wall to fit just the upper part of this and to have a gap underneath it that's about 3 feet up. So the way we can do this is we can just pick these lines. I'm hitting delete on the keyboard. I'm going to use the pick lines tool, and I'm going to pick the bottom edge of the roof here. And we get little dangling parts that are sticking off. So I'm going to use the trim extend to corner tool. And I'm just going to click on the 2 parts of the line that I want to keep, and it will trim it away. Notice if I click on this part and this part, it's going to trim the top. Ready? Click. So that's not what I want. So I'm going to undo that. So I want to click the parts I'm going to keep. Okay, and then we said we wanted to raise this bottom up here. So I'm just going to drag this up. And it's going to complain about constraints. I'm going to remove them. That's okay. And I can see right over here with that line selected, I can even make this exactly 3 feet up. So that's going to be 3 feet up. Now, when you click OK, when you accept this, it's going to give you some warnings. It's going to say, oh, you had mullions on here. We can't keep things joined. I just say unjoin. It says we can't create the mullions because there were some mullions below that. You just say delete elements. It's all fine. You can fix it later. And now our wall basically ends. And we can go back into our level 1 view and just add another wall, a regular basic exterior wall, right along this finish face exterior. I want that on the outside, right along there. And it's going to complain and say the walls are overlapping because watch this. As of now, it's trying to put that piece of wall I just added in the floor plan. It's trying to make it go right up to the top of the room. But we can just pick it in the elevation here. We want to make sure we're getting not the curtain wall, but I'm hitting tab again. I'm getting just the exterior wall. And I'm just going to drag it down, and I should be able to snap it right to the bottom of that curtain wall. And now we just have a knee-high wall here. So from my 3D view, that's what it looks like. Before it was there, it was just an open gap, and then we added it. And before we brought it down, that's what it looked like. But when we bring it down, it comes down to the bottom there, and that's what we're looking for. And I do see it looks like this wall is flipped the wrong way. So I'm going to flip it around. If I hit spacebar now, it flips it by the outside and it actually moves everything. So I'm going to change the location line to the wall center. So when it reflects this wall, it's just reflecting it around the center of the wall, and it's not actually going to be moving anything where we don't want it to go. And that should give you just what you are looking for. So I hope that this helps, and I hope that this, if you have any questions, please ask me. And that is how you add a curtain wall in Revit. So good luck, people.